Makers, it is time for another Knife Making University lesson. In today's lesson, we are going to be talking about belt grit progression and understanding grit progression via a graphical representation. There's more to this than meets the eye. I am giving you a very basic understanding of it. So once you see this video, you'll have an understanding of it. If there's anyone else who wants to add on, feel free to comment below, guys. Feel free to comment. I just haven't seen a video like this anywhere else, and I thought I'd do this for you because every now and again the guys are messaging me to say, Z, I don't know what to choose. I don't know what to select. How do I go up the grits? This is just a nice explanation of understanding how grits work, what you need to select, and what will work for you. Understand, by no means am I promoting you to use these belts only. You need to find out what works for you. More time spent on the grinder means less time spent hand sanding, no matter who you are. And believe it or not, there are some guys out there who can actually go from the grinder to the buff and get a perfect mirror polish without doing any hand sanding at all. But it takes years of practice and knowing what you're doing. Now, I'm going to use some basic terms, basic explanations. This is not the scientific terms behind it, but it will give you an understanding of what it is. So all you armchair scientists out there, I know that it's not called stones, which I'm going to call the grits. But for everyone else out there who doesn't know, it's going to give them an idea and help you know which belts to choose when you start grinding. So without further ado, let's go for it. On this board right now, as you can see, what I've done is I've given you a graphical representation of grits. So we'll call them stones. So like, for example, in a 36 grit belt per centimeter, you've got 6 stones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in a 36 grit, you've got 6 stones, 6 big stones. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to remove material from your blade the fastest and the quickest. But they're going to leave big, deep scratches that are far apart. Next up, you've got the 60 grit. So in a 60 grit, you've got 12 grits per centimeter. We've got 12 stones per 60 grit belt. That's the difference between a 36 and a 60 to give you a brief understanding. As you can see, when you grind your blade, instead of having 6 deep scratches, you may have 12 deep scratches. There are literally 12 scratches there for your blade. Next up, we're going to go to a 120 grit. As you can see, the higher up you go, you're going to have more stones or more grits in your belt, and they get smaller. So as you can see, we're going now to a 120 grit belt. We've got 24 grit per centimeter, and that is what your scratches in your blade are going to look like. When you move up to a 240 grit, we double that again. As you can see, that's what the stones look like in a 240 grit belt. The stones that remove your metal. You've got 48 grits per centimeter, and then when you grind your blade, that's how it's going to look. So the aim and goal is to double up wherever possible, depending upon your grind style. Not everyone goes in this fashion. Some guys go 60, 180, 400. Again, the purpose of this is for you to get an understanding of belts, so you know how belts work. A 400 grit will have 96 grits per centimeter. Look at the difference between a 400 grit and a 60 or 120. This is not removing any metal. Those boys are still removing metal. That guy is chowing your blades up. As you can see, on a 400 grit, you got 96 grit per centimeter, and that's how your blade is going to look from a scratch perspective. But obviously, you need to have gone there before you go there. Because if you go, let's say, for example, from a 60 grit to a 400 grit, what you're going to be doing is just polishing out all of those scratches with this belt. Last up for this explanation, we've got an 800 grit belt. As you can see, tiny little stones. On an 800 grit belt, for my example, you've got 192 grit per centimeter, and that's what your finish will look like. Now again, you got to systematically go through the grits in order for you to get a good finish. If you're going to jump too many grits, you're going to polish out the deep scratches. So what you need to do is make sure, if you're going to be jumping grits, let's say you start off with a 36, and from a 36 you go to a 60. You need to make sure when you go to a 60, all of these grind lines are gone, and you've only left with those. So we'll erase that. It must be gone. When you go from your 160 grit to your 120 grit, you make sure that all of these are gone and you're only left with that. Same with your 120 to 240 to 400 to 800 to A16 to A6 to whatever you're going to jump and how far up you want to jump. You got to make sure that the previous grit scratches are all gone before you go up to the next grit. So when you use the 120, make sure all the 60 grit scratches are gone. So guess what happens? You are now progressively removing the scratches from the previous grit. You're putting new scratches in that's going to be removed by the next belt. And that's how you progressively work continuously all the time. There's nothing more to it, guys. It's as simple as that. Again, not all belts work the same. I've got a explanation of each belt and the grits. Like for example, the Trizex, they don't use a grit number. They use a code like A45, A65, A120, but I've given you the equivalent of that. The previous video explains all of that in detail. Once again, I hope this video helps those who don't know and those who are confused. Before you go again, slower speed, the higher the grit. The higher the speed, the lower the grit. If you're a beginner, you use slow speed all the time. But generally, I don't sell the higher grit belts to the oaks who don't have a VFD or prevent it, because sometimes 1-2 passes, the belt is finished, you throw it away, you don't get the value from the grit. And I'm always looking out for you to try and get as much value as possible. So, I hope this video has helped you. Drop a thumbs up, drop a like, share it with your friends. I know it will help. See you out.